The Young and the Restless spoilers remind Victor that Claire has yet to swear her loyalty to him above all others. If she's going to be working for Nikki, which means working for him, then Victor has a little test for his new granddaughter, which she'd better pass or else. Victor was delighted to learn he had a new granddaughter. Well, he was delighted after he recovered from what her Aunt Jordan, Colleen Zank, tried to do to him and his entire family. Victor is always happy to have more evidence of how awesome he is, as proven by the number of descendants. Now, it is time for Claire to work in the family business, as all good Newman offspring should. A position under Nikki meets with Victor's approval. But in the words of Columbo, just one more thing. Claire does understand that being a Newman means forsaking all others, right? Lily has been through a lot lately. On the one hand, there was Billy, who sent mixed messages about them working together. On the other side, Victor and Nikki were flat out lying to her face about Chancellor. Throw in Devin and Jill on the outskirts, offering their 2 cents, and we don't blame Lily for not knowing whether or not she's coming or going. So when it comes time to make an important decision, Lily takes a firm stand. But will it be in her interest? Meanwhile, Nate and Audra have been over in their own corner of Genoa City, in a story that has nothing to do with anyone else. As long as it's just the two of them, Audra promises to be Nate's ride or die. She can be very loyal. Just ask Tucker or Kyle. Hey everyone, welcome back to Radiant Serum. I'm Aubrey, and I hope your day is shining bright. Thank you for joining me. Let's jump right into today's video. Sharon's medication was tampered with on the Young and the Restless. Nick is the one who found out. Now, we know that Jordan is the one who laced the pills, causing Sharon's erratic behavior and hallucinations, but Sharon doesn't. Phyllis is out for blood after news that Sharon framed Daniel for Heather's murder. Here's how Sharon could end up pointing the finger at Phyllis over the tainted pills. There's no love lost at all between Sharon and Phyllis. After all the details about Sharon framing Daniel for Heather's murder, it almost seems as if Phyllis is madder than Daniel about the whole thing. We know Daniel is also furious, but Phyllis seriously won't let the situation go. Add that to the fact that Phyllis originally insisted Sharon was the one who ran her off the road, and she's been incredibly hard on Sharon lately. Now Phyllis realizes it wasn't Sharon who caused the crash. While Sharon's tampered medication is what supposedly made her go so far off the rails. Now that she's not on the poisoned pills, Sharon should start to become herself again. However, we could see her pointing the finger at Phyllis regarding the medication tampering. Would she go so far as to try to frame Phyllis for it? Probably not. However, there is somebody who may take advantage of the feud Jordan. We could see her planting evidence on Phyllis and Sharon taking the bait and demanding justice. This could cause a huge uproar for Phyllis because Daniel would blame her for Heather's death. Summer barely trusts her mom after last year's faked death as it is, so she'd lose all trust in Phyllis. Plus, Nick would almost certainly take Sharon's side and be furious with Phyllis. What do you think? Would you like to see this happen on My and Our? Let us know in the comments below. On the December 11 episode of The Young and the Restless, Billy was in quite a snit. He told Jack he was going to get back at Victor. He told Kyle he hopes his nephew will finally appreciate what it means to be loyal to the Abbott family. What if Billy has a very specific revenge plan in mind, and it all centers on one particular person? Victor really hates Billy. You can tell how threatened he is by his insistence on calling his former son-in-law Billy Boy. Victor doesn't even do that with Jack. That's because Jack may have married Victor's on and off wife, Nikki, but Billy married Victor's precious little girl, Victoria. That drives Victor absolutely crazy. Billy fought so hard to hold onto a company he considered his. After all, it was named after the man his mother had an affair with and owned by the man's wife. Surely, Billy was part of that family. But Jill sold the company to Victor. Meanwhile, Jack wanted to turn the family company over to his own son, but Kyle betrayed them all by siding with Victor, until Victor turned his back on him. Kyle needs to be taught a lesson. And who do Victor and Kyle currently have in common? Why, Claire, of course. Wouldn't it kill two birds with one stone if Billy were to seduce Claire? Kyle would be furious, Victor would be furious, and Billy would have the last laugh. Should he go for it? Sure, it would upset Victoria, but Billy has a long history of upsetting Victoria. She's used to it, she'll be fine. And it's not like Billy has any qualms about sleeping with a mother and daughter, right, Phyllis and Summer? Devin and Abby are back from their honeymoon and ready for their happily ever after on The Young and the Restless. This beautiful couple has the world at their fingertips. They are wildly successful, share a gorgeous son, and their love runs deep and true. What could possibly go wrong? Well, everything. Oh sure, we can see them being over the moon for a few months of wedded bliss. They'll settle into a lovely routine, raise their lovely son, and truly become a lovely little family. Life will be good. Very, very good. Until it all goes sideways in a shocking twist that will leave them reeling. That twist? An old lover coming back for revenge. Revenge? Who would want revenge against these two? It's not like they have a lot of enemies. Chance is happy for them. Amanda isn't looking to break them up. And if Elena wanted to take action, she would have by now. There is one person, though, who has proven to be a danger. Stitch. Oh, but we don't think it will be Stitch himself who is out to ruin Abby's life. Instead, we think we'll see his son resurface in Genoa City to pick up where his dad left off. No one in the world hates Abby more than Max. The last time we saw Stitch, he kidnapped a pregnant Mariah. Back then, he said Max was locked away in a treatment facility and was extremely unwell. He claimed Max had a brain tumor and hardly even remembered him. Nevertheless, he grabbed Max and took him on the run. 3 years later, they are still on the loose. What if, in the last 3 years, Stitch was able to find the perfect doctor for Max and had the tumor removed? It would be quite a miracle and get Max on the road to recovery. That would be great news, right? Sure, until Max becomes well enough to get that old itch to destroy Abby's life. Max's recovery would be very dangerous for Abby and her family. Max will be grown now. He'll no longer be a messed-up kid who can be easily taken down. He'll be a man on a mission with serious delusions of revenge and justice. Once Max hits Genoa City, Abby will have a target on her back. He'll be sneaky, he'll be ruthless, and if he gets his hands on her, he may not stop until he gets exactly what he wants: to bury his former stepmother 6 feet under. It will turn into a race against the clock to find Abby and arrest Max before he does the unthinkable. We thought we were well past Victor's doubts about Claire, but apparently not. Once more, he tests his granddaughter's loyalty. In what can only possibly pertain to the show's endless game of musical CEOs, Lily makes a tough decision. Audra makes a promise to Nate, further giving the impression that these two might just have stumbled upon something real. Better late than never, Sally evaluates her feelings for Billy. Phyllis and Michael's friendship is tested. If you ask us, it already flunked the test with this twist. Nate asks his Devin and Lily to give Audra a second chance. We've talked a good deal, haven't we, about the fact that overnight, the young and the restless Claire went from cold and cunning to sweet as pie. It just didn't make sense. Once she learned the truth about the lie her parents were told, that she had died, she could be remorseful for her actions, sure, but to completely shed every aspect of her personality and adopt one that is as innocent as Snow White didn't track, unless it does. Suppose the 180 Claire pulled wasn't genuine at all but part of a master plan. Suppose she's still acting on crazy Aunt Jordan's SERUM orders, playing the long game. Were that the case, Claire's personality transplant would be a stroke of genius, one that allowed her to get in good with not only the Abbotts but the Newmans as well. And it's worked, too. She's been embraced by her birth family, is seen as a voice of reason around the Abbott mansion. What that means is that whenever crazy Aunt Jordanum wants, she can pull the trigger on her secret weapon, Claire, and annihilate both clans. How easy would it be for her to put on her best Pollyanna act and say that she wants to cook a peacemaking dinner for her family, as well as boyfriend Kyle's? After a day in the kitchen, and a little arsenic added to every dish, she could make her aunt's every nightmarish dream come true. Beth Maitland as Tracy Abbott on The Young and the Restless is incredible, to say the least. The fandom absolutely loves her and is always asking for more. Unfortunately, the makers have been using Tracy as a filler for a long time, and honestly, that needs to change. She has had some seriously dramatic storylines in the past, and certainly has the acting chops to pull off some more. Tracy Abbott is one character who has lost out on love repeatedly through the years on The Young and the Restless. However, these days she is painting the sky pink with Alan Laurent. Unfortunately, we feel that is also a disaster waiting to happen. At this point, we wouldn't be surprised at all if he wakes up one morning and is exposed as Alan's evil twin, Martin. If that happens, Tracy will once again lose her chance at love. So we are not sure if we really want Alan to be exposed as Martin. And without that twist, we see this storyline going nowhere except off the canvas. And we can't have that either. We want more of Beth Maitland as Tracy. So here's an idea that could actually give Tracy a lasting love while also keeping the storyline viable. Many long-term fans would remember Tracy's former love, Brad Carlton, portrayed by Don Diamond back in the day. What if Brad were to return to Genoa City? He and Tracy were once married and even had a daughter. There is certainly a lot of history there. If he was to return to GC, single and ready to mingle, we could have a love triangle at our hands. Imagine this. Brad sees Tracy happily and so in love with Alan Laurent. It stirs some deep-rooted old feelings in him and makes him realize that he still cares about her. He may try to pursue Tracy and put her in a difficult spot where she feels torn between Alan and Brad. It would be fun to see which man she chooses. Hang on tight for this crazy comeback. The Young and the Restless comings and goings welcomed the legendary Thelma Hopkins back as the sharp investigator, Denise Tolliver. She has arrived in Genoa City to help crack the case keeping us on our toes. The hunt for Damien is in full swing. Dive in to catch the full tea. The Young and the Restless comings and goings spill that Denise turns out to be the private investigator Nate hired. She teams up with Amy Lewis, Valerie Pettiford, who is looking for her son Damien. How does Hopkins feel about reprising her role? She can get in everybody's business legally. She doesn't have to sneak around like she used to do, she shared. Interestingly, Thelma is elated about sharing the screen with Pettiford after over 2 decades. Moreover, Pettiford, who starred in the hit sitcom Half and Half with Hopkins, couldn't help but gush about working with her again. I just look into her eyes. It makes all the difference in the world, because you don't have to work. How adorable is that, right? Now, let's talk about Denise's last appearance in Genoa. She turned up at Devon's door with some shocking info about Amanda. At the time, the character was investigating her father's death. Now, Denise is back with a mission to help Amy find her son Damien before it's too late. That's why Amy is facing a fatal medical crisis. Furthermore, all Amy wants is to reconnect with her other son before she passes. But there's a big surprise in store for Damien. Nate Hastings, seen Dominic, is about to discover some groundbreaking truths. This includes the fact that the man he thought was his father isn't his biological dad. To top it off, Damien will learn about Nate. Will they feel those brotherhood vibes? While there's no telling how Damien will react to this, the emotional fallout will surely be intense. It's going to take Damien a lot of time, patience, and healing to process everything. However, Nate will be his rock to help him through it all. Get ready for some drama, because this investigation is about to get heated. The Young and the Restless spoilers tease that the search for Nate Hastings' half-brother Damien could blow the lid off of his comfy life. The drama got started when his dad's former SO, Amy Lewis, contacted him about finding her son. Did we mention that she's dying of cancer, so this is an urgent mission? The Young and the Restless welcome back Thelma Hopkins. The mission is bolstered when Detective Denise Tolliver returns to the canvas. Hopkins recently spoke to Soap She Knows about her return to the CBS daytime drama. Hopkins said of her character, "Denise is who she is. She's an investigator. She's nosy. She's got the best job in the world, and now she can get in everybody's business legally. She doesn't have to sneak around like she used to do." Savvy fans realize that Hopkins' appearance will result in a reunion for her and Pettiford. They starred together on Half and Half from 2002 to 2006. Hopkins played Phyllis and Pettiford portrayed Big Dee. The ladies are excited to return to acting together, with Pettiford saying that just being able to look into her co-star's eyes makes all the difference in the world because you don't have to work. The Young and the Restless spoilers, a small screen reunion. The last time that fans saw Denise in Genoa City, she had some stunning news about Amanda, which she gave to Devin Winters. The plot at that time had Devin discovering that Amanda was keeping a secret about her father's death. Fun fact, Hopkins and James also starred together on Family Matters. My and our spoilers, how can Denise help? In the present day, Denise will be asked to locate Damien and bring him to his estranged mother. Amy supposedly has little time left, so the race is on to find Damien before it's too late to say goodbye. She also wants him to connect with Nate after a lifetime of secrecy and lies. Tell us why, and our fans, is this a lot to ask for? The Young and the spoilers. Will Nate Hastings be stunned or happy? Also tell us what you think of Amy. Do you think that she is pulling a con? And if so, for what reason? The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Sharon Newman is finally realizing a legitimate breakthrough. While she appreciates the support of her family and Michael Baldwin's championing of her, Heather Stevens' death and Daniel Romolotti's frame seemed concrete. However, the tests of Sharon's prescription medications that Nick Newman paid for reveal a bombshell result. Her pills were tainted, which implies foul play. Meanwhile, Jordan Howard wants to continue doing only some of the work, so Ian Ward is set to reappear in Genoa City, Wisconsin. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Nick Newman was right. Nick has been saying that something wasn't off with this scenario. He knows Sharon better than anyone and firmly believes that she isn't capable of premeditated murder, dumping Heather's body in the river, framing Daniel for those crimes, and attempting to kill Phyllis Summers on the road. When Nick focused on Sharon's medications, some soap dust was sprinkled into the plot. Having disposed of pills in her home is a stretch, but it can be rationalized based on her frantic state these past months. Audience members can wonder why Sharon's trash, including the pills, wasn't disposed of weeks ago. Fans can also ask when Nick specifically obtained the discarded medications. Nevertheless, the plot moves forward with a generally plausible explanation that will eventually clear Sharon. The Young and the Restless spoilers, Sharon Newman gave up. Sharon's agreement with Phyllis was breathtaking. Rarely one to agree with her nemesis on anything, Sharon believes that Phyllis is correct and doesn't feel a trial is necessary. She wants to go right to jail to pay for her perceived crimes. But the results of the toxicology report that Chance Chancellor relayed to Michael provide real hope. Sharon doesn't believe she laced her pills, which means some nefarious force did. The audience knows that Jordan and Ian manipulated Sharon's medication. That was revealed earlier this fall, shortly after Zanks and Wise's return to the cast and Jordan and Ian's partnership was shown. The Young and the Restless spoilers. Why would Ian Ward risk exposure so soon? Ian has a master plan. He engineered an identity switch that allowed Jordan to escape prison. But Wise's character was set free due to claimed rehabilitation. He's no more rehabilitated than many other villains who've darkened the screen across many Y and R years. Yet his free man status means he can walk the streets of GC if he foolishly chooses to do so. Irrational, ego-driven thoughts have and continue to lead Ian to believe he's invincible. Jordan needs to don disguises due to her unknown prison break. Young and the Restless spoilers indicate that Ian Ward is about to run into someone from his past. And while most fans' minds tend to go to characters like Adam Newman, Nikki Newman, and Phyllis Summers, the truth is he had plenty of run-ins with Summer Newman, and once manipulated the young woman into believing he was a life coach. Could his run-in be with Summer, and what happens if she recognizes him? The Young and the Restless spoilers, Summer Newman's reaction gets her kidnapped. Y and R spoilers note that depending on where they run into each other, Summer could freak out. She knows how dangerous Ian is, and he might seize an opportunity to shut her up before she can expose him. Things can happen rather quickly in the land of GC, and all that Ian would have to do is hit her over the head, or possibly punch her to knock her out quickly, and take her back to the hotel room she's sharing with Jordan. Y and R spoilers. Kyle loses his mind. Claire takes note. Meanwhile, the moment Summer goes missing, Kyle Abbott could have a freak out, which may cause Claire Newman to take note. After all, fans can see a love triangle looming between her, Kyle, and Summer, with potential for a Skyle reunion. Kyle seemed to change his tune with Summer during the Monday, December 9 episode after she revealed she and Chance Chancellor had broken up. She and Kyle were arguing about who should tell Harrison Abbott that Claire was no longer his nanny. Summer wanted to do it with Kyle, while Kyle knew Claire wanted to be the one to break the bad news to him. After Kyle learned of the Summons breakup, he seemed to lighten the harsh stance he had about Claire being the one to tell Harrison she was moving to Chancellor. When he later told Claire about Summer's suggestion and how the parents already told their son about her job move, she seemed perplexed as to why he moved forward with Summer's recommendation. She also seemed hurt. If Kyle freaks out about Summer going missing, could Claire feel as if he's not over his ex? He may state it's because she's Harrison's mom, but this could be the beginning of the end for Claire if Claire believes Kyle isn't over his ex-wife. The Young and the Restless spoilers and rumors tease friction arises between Jordan Howard and Ian Ward. Even though the two seem affectionate at times, there's an underlying antagonism. Jordan, in particular, seems to harbor an underlying fear. Are they destined to destroy each other? The Young and the Restless spoilers, partners, maybe, but Ian Ward seemed threatening to Jordan Howard. Partners, maybe, but Ian seemed plenty threatening to Jordan when he reminded her they had a deal about something. You could see the fear in her eyes. It takes a lot to scare Jordan, but Ian seems much more intimidating to her than Victor Newman ever was when he caged her. Not that she's thankful to them, but if it weren't for Cole Howard and Michael Baldwin, she'd probably be dead by now. Does Ian have something on Jordan he could use to put her back in prison? Not likely, since he helped her escape and he was paroled. The two of them have people in common in Genoa City whom they're anxious to get revenge on, and that's why they're working together. Ian was a cult leader who enslaved and controlled not only Nikki Newman, but also Mariah Copeland, Sharon's daughter. Ian is a very sick individual, likely sicker than Jordan. He helped raise Mariah as a child and then forced her to marry him. Jordan was off the radar for years as she raised Claire Newman. Cole had never met her and barely knew of her. Might Jordan have been in Ian's sick cult prior to kidnapping Claire, once known as Baby Eve? Anything is possible. The way Jordan manipulated and trained Claire is very much like the way a cult leader manipulates and brainwashes his or her followers. It's possible that Jordan and Ian are too much alike, and growing friction between them eventually lights a fuse of mutual destruction. Many cult leaders seem to self-destruct and eventually commit suicide and take their followers with them, a la Jim Jones and the People's Temple and Marshall Applewhite and Heaven's Gate. Both Jordan and Ian are skilled in the use of drugs and poisons, and who's to say they may not use them on each other? Neither Jordan nor Ian can escape their present partnership without implicit trust of each other not to turn the other one into the authorities. Might they stealthily end each other's lives instead by dosing that champagne they both love to drink? At Crimson Lights, Phyllis tells Danny, by phone, that she appreciates this and will add his name to the card. Lauren comes in, and Phyllis explains he pulled some strings to get Lucy a band album she wants. Lauren knows this holiday will be hard for the girl and prays their family will get some peace. Phyllis says they will when Sharon pays for murdering Heather in cold blood. Nick arrives at Sharon's place with coffee for her and Faith. Sharon says she just got off the phone with Tracy's boyfriend, Alan. She plans on seeing him later and asking him to work with her to remember some of the things she blacked out. Sharon can tell they're not crazy about the idea, and explains she hopes she can tap into some unconscious memories that will help them figure out who put the PCP on her pills. Nick and Faith worry she'll remember someone disturbing and regress. Sharon needs answers. They won't talk her out of it. Faith insists they be there when she does the hypnosis. Sharon agrees. She's scared. Faith will hold her head to remind her how strong their love is. Sharon is lucky to have them. She's glad they didn't turn their backs on her. They'll always be there for her. At the ranch, Michael marvels that the new place looks almost exactly the same as before the fire. Victor asks him to have a seat to talk business. He says Jack Abbott thinks he pulled one over on him, but he won't let him have the last laugh. He complains that Jack boasted to him about buying all the Glissade divisions. Michael's amused. He can't help but admire that Jack pulled off something Victor would do. Victor snaps that he got lucky. I want to beat the guy. I need your help. Michael doesn't think it's to his benefit to continue this battle with Jack Abbott. He reminds him they had a peaceful detente for years. Victor says Jack shattered that the night he spent with Nikki in the hotel room. He thinks he bested me. He's gloating right now. You don't do that with me. Michael guesses he has a plan. Victor says the fool gave him a perfect chance to undo Jabot from the inside once and for all. At Society, Deanne listens as Kyle tells the marketing company to get the sunscreen back on track ASAP. He disconnects and tells her Jabot is well positioned, and she should be proud of the work she did as co-CEO. Kyle can't wait to see what she'll do with the classic line. He admits it was wrong of him to undercut her. Diane felt he was actively sabotaging her. Kyle says that wasn't his intention, but he became angry and bitter. Diane guesses he didn't realize how much the job meant to him until he gave it away. Kyle hopes she doesn't have those feelings now that she's stepped aside. Diane reassures him. She's happy they're talking again. Kyle supposes they're starting to heal as a family. Diane thinks one more thing needs to be done. At the Abbott mansion, Jack thanks Billy for coming by. He has news to share with him. Billy heard that Kyle's back at Jabot and reminds him he was there asking him for a job. He wonders if his reconciliation with Diane was part of this. Jack holds up his hand. I can explain. Billy asks what this crazy musical chairs is that he's playing with their family business. Jack says things weren't in place the last time they spoke. Billy complains about him leaving him in the dark. Jack says he and Diane decided to keep it to themselves. Billy fumes that he let him walk out of there believing he thought he was a screw-up, and when the family news broke he heard it elsewhere. Where's the trust in all that? Billy learns Jack and Diane weren't actually at war. It was an act to shake some sense into Kyle. We were desperate. They didn't want Victor to do irreparable harm. Billy asks, what about you? What about your family, Jack? He dragged the family into this. Jack apologizes, but he couldn't take the chance of the truth getting out. Billy says it was a gutsy move. He's happy to hear he put one over on Victor. Jack says he fooled him more than once. Billy learns that Jack fleeced him of glissade for pennies on the dollar. Billy's impressed. Does Victor know that he's been bamboozled? Because I would love to be the one to tell him. Jack says he knows. Billy says Jack's knocked him off balance. Now he's going to knock him out. At Crimson Lights, Lauren apologizes to Phyllis for being dismissive when she told her Sharon was the one who killed Heather. Phyllis is convinced she's the one who got her to confess. Lauren remarks on her persistence. Phyllis says Sharon tried to kill her too. Lauren nods. She tried to run you off the road. Phyllis flashes to the accident and shakes her head. Lauren asks if she's okay. Did you just remember something? Phyllis slowly says she's fine. She just keeps getting these flashing images. I need to talk to someone. Lauren urges her to tell her. Phyllis doesn't know if she can trust what she's seeing. She remembers being in the car, driving, and these headlights coming at her. And then it went black and I woke up in the hospital. Lauren muses. There's a lot missing. Phyllis says she's been getting vivid images coming at her hard. It's a vehicle. Lauren says, Sharon's car. Phyllis says, that's the thing. It's not Sharon's car. Lauren asks if she's saying it's possible Sharon is not the one responsible for her accident. At Society, Dean tells Kyle that Jack wants to be able to have conversations like this with him. She wants Kyle to take his share of responsibility for what happened to their family. Kyle will see how it goes. He felt his dad was unwilling to see his side. If he meets him halfway, like she has, maybe they can put it behind them and move on. At the Abbott mansion, Jack cautions Billy about going after Victor due to his pride. What he did was to protect his son, and was a move of desperation. Billy's feeling pretty desperate. Jack says he's running hot right now, which is the worst time to try and exact revenge. Billy says Victor turned his own mother against her. Jack says he's not getting Chancellor back. That ship has sailed. He's better than this, and shouldn't let Victor's actions define who he is or what he does. Billy walks out. At the ranch, Michael tells Victor, that's a tall order. What if I can't pull it off? Victor's confident he will. Nick walks in and Michael blows past him. Nick says, he didn't seem happy. Victor thinks he should be. He's paying him enough. They sit and Victor chats about Nick and Victoria working well together at Newman. He asks about Adam. Nick says they made it work, but they have different styles. Adam's more direct and he's more diplomatic. He's there to update Victor on Sharon. Victor remembers that the last time she was ill, she burned this place down. Nick says he built it all back. There have been some developments in her case. At Crimson Lights, Phyllis tells Lauren it makes sense that it was Sharon who ran her off the road. She was sending her texts to come to her house. The last she heard is that she said she was in her car on the same road when she almost got her chestnuts roasted on an open fire. Sharon says she went off that same road and blacked out. I wish I could see her face hunched over that wheel, but I can't. Is it because she hit her head so hard, or because it was someone else who ran her off the road that night? Suddenly, Sharon appears with Faith and asks, so you're finally willing to admit that's a real possibility? Phyllis complains that every time she turns around, Sharon is there. Sharon suggests she stay away from her coffee shop. Phyllis complains about Sharon using the excuse that someone drugged her to excuse her killing spree. Sharon takes it back to her mind, telling her someone else ran her off the road that night. I'm starting to think you didn't see my car at all. Maybe you made a mistake, or maybe you just hate me so much that you were willing to lie. At Society, Kyle has to go to the office. Diane's happy it's Jebot. They're glad the trouble is behind them. As he exits, Kyle is congratulated by Billy, who hopes he's matured enough to learn where his loyalty should lie. He joins Diane and tells her Jack's filled him in. He's impressed with the outcome and wonders, how'd you pull that off? Diane asks Billy what he really wants from her. Billy is looking for information on their common enemy. She got Victor to trust her enough to hand over Glissade. How did you do that? Diane says he claims he was onto her all along, but he meant what he said and his actions proved it. At the ranch, Victor has learned that someone tampered with Sharon's medication. Nick thinks this explains that she wasn't in her right mind when she confronted Heather. He believes that this was done on purpose. It's like someone is playing a sick game with her. Victor asks who he thinks might want to harm her. Victor asks if they should put their people on it. Nick worries that that could compromise the case. Victor says it's his call. He'll do anything to protect the children and honestly hopes Sharon is all right. At Crimson Lights, Sharon needs to know what happened on the nights she blacked out and asks Phyllis to fill in the blanks. Phyllis wonders why she'd help her after all she's done to her family. Faith asks Lauren, who doesn't want to be in the middle. They're all arguing when Michael comes in and puts a stop to it by bellowing at Sharon that she doesn't have to admit to anything. Phyllis is disgusted with him and says their friendship is over as she exits. Sharon tells Michael they walked in on Phyllis telling Lauren that it may not have been her who ran her off the road that night. Michael asks his wife if that's true. Lauren admits it is. Michael rants. Sharon reveals that she's meeting with Alan for hypnosis. Michael's nervous about it. He learns the meeting is tonight and would like to go with her as her attorney. Outside society, Deanne tells Billy he should get advice on how to handle Victor from Jack. Billy says he told him not to go after him. Diane thinks she has a solution to his problem and a way to keep him out of trouble. At society, Jack orders a scotch and soda while he waits for Kyle. Victor saunters in and sits down. Hello, Jack. Jack doesn't think they have anything to say to each other. Kyle walks in as Victor says he came over to admit defeat. Well played. Jack frowns suspiciously. At home, Sharon couldn't stop pacing by the window. Faith watched her mom as they both worried. Nick came in with coffees, and Sharon told him she spoke with Tracy Abbott's boyfriend, Alan, who is trained in hypnotherapy. Sharon was going to see him later and tell him her situation. She hoped he could help her remember things she'd forgotten from blacking out. Nick and Faith worried that Sharon could remember something traumatic. Sharon said she needed to know, just like she needed to know who tampered with her meds. Nick and Faith decide not to fight her on it, but make her promise to let them be there for her. At the ranch house, Michael was blown away at how similar it was to the original. He and Victor sat to talk business. Victor shared that Jack thought he'd pulled one over on him. I'm not going to let him have the last laugh, Victor said. Michael thought it was funny that Jack was able to pull it off. Victor snapped that Jack got lucky, but he wanted to beat him and needed Michael's help. Michael advised Victor to let it go, but Victor was still bent out of shape about the night Jack and Nikki spent in a hotel. Also, as Jack was gloating that he bested Victor, he needed to take him down. What the fool doesn't realize is he gave me the perfect chance to undo Jabot from the inside, once and for all, Victor seethed. Victor gave Michael marching orders, but we didn't hear what they were. Michael told Victor he would see what he could do. Stunned and silent, Michael left as Nick came in. Nick noted that Michael didn't seem happy. Victor asked to hear nice stories about him working with Victoria at Newman. Nick assured him that he was happy. Victor asked if he preferred working with Adam, and Nick said he did. Nick said he came by to update him about Sharon, not talk business. Victor was glad that Sharon lived on the property, and the last time she was ill, she burned down the place. Nick said there had been developments in her case. Victor offered his resources to help find out who tampered with Sharon's meds, but Nick thought it was safer and better for everyone if they played by the books and worked with the police. Billy came to the Abbott mansion, and he'd already heard that Kyle was back at Jabot. Jack explained that things weren't in place. Billy didn't understand why Jack lied to him. Billy was hurt that Jack let him believe his view of him was that he was an abject failure. Then he didn't hear the news about his reconciliation with Diane and Kyle's return to Jabot from someone else. He wondered why Jack didn't trust him. Jack explained that he and Diane had only pretended to break up and why. Billy said that Jack caused the family pain with his deception. Jack explained that he couldn't take the chance of it leaking to Victor or Kyle that they were faking. Billy wondered whose idea it was to go that far. Diane and I decided to do what was best for our son. I would think, as a father, you would understand that, Jack told him. Billy was upset with Jack's deception, but was happy to know Jack had pulled one over on Victor. Jack told him the whole story about Glissade and how Victor went after Kyle and then Diane. He noted that Victor was reveling in the fact that he thought he was breaking up Jack's family. Jack told him how he'd bought up all the factions of Glissade that Victor sold off for pennies on the dollar. Jack said Victor was furious when he learned that Jack had one-upped him, but he didn't care. Billy thought they were going to give Victor a 1-2 punch. He said that Jack knocked Victor off balance, and Billy would knock him out. Jack knew that Billy was upset at Victor, but thought putting the whole thing behind him and moving on would be better. Jack said it was different for him because Victor came after his family. You just turned this family and half of this town into dupes to get the best of Victor, Billy countered. Jack said everything he did was to protect his son and a move of desperation. Jack knew that Billy came to him for a win, but he was feeling hot, and it was a losing proposition to strike with that mindset. You talk about family. Victor took Chancellor from me. He turned my own mother against me, Billy reminded him. Jack said he understood how painful that was, but the ship had sailed, and he wasn't getting Chancellor back. Jack offered to find a spot for Billy at Jeboat, but he told him he didn't need a handout. You're better than this. Don't let Victor's actions define who you are or what you do, Victor pleaded. Billy said nothing and left. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.